Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. And in this video, we're going to talk about Alexa Bliss. How could we not talk about Alexa Bliss? It was the main talking point of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Because of course WWE gave us the first in what seems like some mini series of a documentation of Alexa Bliss's journey back to Raw. And this journey back to Raw stems all the way back to Extreme Rules, the last time that we saw Alexa Bliss in WWE. Now we know why she went away in real life, but in storyline sense, the last time we saw her, she lost the Raw Women's Championship match against Charlotte Flair. And not only that, Charlotte Flair destroyed her much beloved Lilly doll. She didn't just destroy it, she torn it apart, seemingly gone forever. And this triggered some psychotic actions from Alexa Bliss, and kudos for her incredible performance and portrayal of that character in that moment. She had a meltdown and that was the last time we saw her in WWE. Now since that period, we've seen WWE advertise the journey back to Raw, and this is via video package segments, and we kind of knew WWE were going to do this. And I'm all for this, to be honest with you, because they're tying up loose ends and they're continuing a storyline. They're not acting like us WWE fans are naive and just forget about the past. They're actually continuing things. And it makes sense. But first and foremost, like this video if you agree with me on this one, Alexa Bliss, she's going to get therapy. She needs Dr. Shelby in her life. She needs a new doc. This latest doc, he's not cutting it, quite frankly. You don't want to be showing Alexa Bliss videos of what happened to her Lilly doll. We know what happens then. She ain't going to get better that way. Bring in Dr. Shelby. If he can sort Daniel Bryan and Kane, a 7-foot monster, out, and collectively sort them two out, he can sort Alexa Bliss out. Well, maybe. Debatable. Because of course, Alexa Bliss has checked in to rehab essentially, and she's getting therapy via this doctor. And in terms of a timestamp, I'm assuming this is shortly after Extreme Rules. Either Alexa Bliss has voluntarily checked herself into rehab. I highly doubt that. She did admit she has a problem or had a problem, so that could be the case. But more than likely, WWE have gone, get yourself sorted. You're not right. You're a bit cuckoo up here. Get yourself checked in with this new doc. And that's what she's done. And the doc is trying to reason with her through this scene. I do think it's really cool, the attention to detail that WWE have given, because if you look around the room, there's these like messed up quotes, these messed up pictures that just don't make any sense. And seemingly this is in sync with what's going on in Alexa Bliss's mind. And we're wanting to see what Alexa Bliss is seeing through her own eyes. And they're portraying that via what we see on the television set, which makes sense. I think it's cool. It asks loads of questions. You think, what's going on? Like, it's a bit creepy. And that's what WWE do really, really well in terms of kudos to the props given there. And she sat there and the doc's trying to reason with her. And you can clearly see she's got some form of power still. Like, she's still got some form of control. Number one, she's not intimidated by the doctor whatsoever. You could see that she could like snap his neck at any moment if she wanted to. She doesn't fear him. She doesn't really fear anything. And also, she seems more psychotic as well. So clearly there's some serious issues going on up top and she's trying to deal with them because she's still not over Lilly. And the doc shows her the video, tries to help her out, like to recall that moment and help her. And she just has this absolute meltdown and destroys the room and just goes absolutely nuts. And this is seemingly her trigger. And there's a few little hidden like Easter eggs in there. But one that really stood out for me was when she destroyed the keyboard, when she absolutely annihilated the keyboard. And I think that was a reference to a lot of the internet marks out there criticising her and this portrayal of this psychotic, more darker, more sinister version that we've been seeing lately in association with Lilly. And I think that's just the two fingers up to them, like, sod you. You know, I'm good at this portrayal of this character. I'm smashing it left, right and centre with my performances. I'm enjoying playing this character. Sod you and your opinion. Because we know, unquestionably, there's so many people that want the goddess version to come back. And this could be WWE's way of going full cycle and us eventually seeing that over time. And the scene was so good because why it was so good is it got us guessing. There's a number of situations that can come from this. And we still don't know. We're watching that thinking, is she going to get rehab? Is she going to get help to a point where she's going to be cured? And eventually we're going to see her return to the goddess gimmick. Or is therapy just going to be an absolute waste of time with Alexa Bliss and it's going to unlock something even darker, more sinister, an absolute weapon that we've never seen before, a new character essentially? That could be the case. Is she going to become Lilly herself in human form? Like, there's the potential there. But I personally feel the right move with WWE would be to have that split personality. It would make sense. We see this therapy that seems to work eventually, and then you see her return as the goddess. And just as you think she's back to normal, you see this flicker of this darker, more sinister version that she can't control. Maybe we see that character at pay-per-views only. I've mentioned it in previous videos. You could have liked that to Finn Balor and the demon version of Finn Balor. So we could see that. There's loads of ways that WWE could work it. Now, to please the WWE audience, it's impossible to please everybody. Many people want the goddess version back. Any other form that they bring her back in, they're going to rebel. And then a lot of other people want the Lily doll version, or the playground Alexa version. And then another group of people want something new. And I personally feel they can please majority of those audiences, not everybody obviously, by having elements of each gimmick and working it. But whatever they do, they need to make sure there is a new twist. There is an evolution of Alexa Bliss in some way, because they can't just bring her back as the goddess. Well, they could, but then you can guarantee 6 months down the line after that, people will be calling for something different. And it's easy to forget about that end run of the Alexa Bliss goddess gimmick, where people were starting to get a little bit bored of it and they wanted something new, and it sort of ran its course a little bit. I think that was harsh personally. I think if she continued it, she could have evolved it with a few tweaks down the line. But majority of the people felt that was getting stale. So when they brought this new character in, it was a new lease of life. Now the problem, it's always going to be the problem, is Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, of course, and that association with that type of gimmick. People were always going to go, well, it's a rip-off version of Bray Wyatt's idea. And you're never going to get away from that until Bray Wyatt or the Fiend returns to WWE. I'm saying that literally. I don't think he ever will, but if he did, that would finally shut people up. And it is hard to argue that, because Alexa Bliss is the way she is because of the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, taking over and controlling her initially in that first run. So you can't ignore that ever. But Alexa Bliss has the opportunity to put, as much as she can, put her own spin on a new dynamic. Whatever that may be remains to be seen. But a really good first episode, because it was so intriguing. We could really dive into tons of detail with it. There was quite a few Easter eggs in there. But in summary, we know she's going after Charlotte Flair. It seems like that, I guess. Whether that be a Royal Rumble win, she gets onto SmackDown that route, or WWE are going more towards a cross-brand approach. You'd think so, because of course we saw Seth Rollins interfere or involve himself with Roman Reigns. Of course, Rollins is on Raw and Reigns is on SmackDown, so we're seeing more of that. So are we seeing WWE splitting away from cross-brand eventually? So she'll get to Charlotte Flair, I think personally. We know that. We know that she's trying to get help. So she knows she's got a problem. She knows she's a bit psychotic and she needs some help upstairs. We know the doctor isn't that great, so we need to send in Dr. Shelby. And of course, we know she's returning to WWE very soon. Now, I'm assuming next week, and we'll do a review on that, but next week there's going to be a continuation further down the timeline. So this was shortly after Extreme Rules, I'm assuming. And then down the line, we're going to see some continuation. Be interesting to see what they do. Are they going to tease something new? Or are they going to tease the full circle approach back to the goddess? It remains to be seen. But WWE, to be fair, credit where credit's due. They're keeping us guessing, and we're asking the questions. We don't know how Alexa Bliss is going to return, and I think that's just the way they want it to be. And it works. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'd be really appreciative, as always, if you could like the video. It really helps this channel. Share the video, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in another video.